Hello there, welcome to Football-Oranje. It's time for a podcast Ace 2, and we're home of Dutch football, so we'll be talking today about the cup final between Ajax and Vitesse, which has just finished at the time that we're recording. So if you're watching along live, do, of course, comment along. If you're watching well after this and you're listening to us on YouTube, SoundCloud or iTunes, comment your thoughts on the podcast and comment your thoughts about the topics that we're talking about today. We're also going to be discussing who's going to maybe making the Netherlands Euro 2020 squad this summer. And of course, a lot of the places are already decided, but there are a few places still up for grabs. Mike and I will discuss the players which may or may not make the squad. Now, we've got a few things also to announce before we begin. The first thing is, if you are a Netherlands fan, you are a Football-Oranje fan, you can still get yourself a Football-Oranje wristband. The YouTube description will hold the link to get one of those. But also, if you go to the Football-Oranje Twitter page, the link is still there to get yourself one before the competition starts. And also, if you haven't already, we've been doing quite a few match reactions recently to the Netherlands games. We did a couple to the Ajax games as well the other day, as they went out of the Europa League. You can still go and check those out. They're over on YouTube, as well as our interview with Ajax's goalkeeper, Charlie Setford, is also available now to see on our website and on YouTube. Now, Mike, it's good to get you in, and we're going to be discussing plenty about the Netherlands Euro 20 squad in a little bit. But the first thing is the cup final has just finished between Ajax and Vitesse. Ajax won 2-1. What were your thoughts on the game? I found that Ajax were pretty comfortable throughout, despite having to get a last-minute winner.
Yeah, I think the game started off pretty excitingly. I thought Vitesse attacked at the start. They had the first chance, but yeah, after they scored equaliser, I thought it was all sort of one-way traffic. Ajax was so comfortable, and it seemed like a matter of time before they were actually going to get the winner. And as soon as Vitesse went down to 10 men, and yeah, I think Vitesse were also unlucky with the injuries they had, with Openda having to go off, Daz having to go off. You can see that Tanan was also struggling as well with fitness. So I think everything sort of went against them with fitness-wise, and then it just became a matter of time for Ajax going to score the winner. And then, yeah, it just popped up in the 90th minute. David Neres getting in there to get the goal. And, yeah, Ajax Cup winners, 20th KNVB Cup for them. It looks like they're going to be on course for the double, because it's only going to be possibly next weekend that they seal the title as well. So they fought back from getting knocked out of the Europa League, and they've got the cup.
Still a great season for them, despite going out of Europe. I'm sure they'll be pretty proud of their Europa League run when it comes to the end of the season. They'll look back upon it and think they did pretty well. They've had a few players out. That's why they went out against Rome over those two legs. If they had a fully fit squad, I'm sure they would have got past them. And today's cup final, again, was a bit of a struggle, more than it should have been. Vitesse are a good team, but Ajax should have stepped up a little bit in the second half and put a couple of chances away, but took that red card. I think that red card changed the game. And it was a red card for Rasmussen, did you think?
It was a late tackle, yeah, so I don't think he had too much complaints about that one. Yeah,
it was more the way that it was done, wasn't it? Because he had the yellow card and then he showed him the red card instead.
Yeah. It's fair enough. You know, it's one of these tackles that can go either way, and sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. And I think this one was just, I don't think they could have much argument with it, to be fair.
No. And after that, Vitesse had to reshuffle the pack. They had to put some different players in defence. And they ended up conceding a goal because of balls put into the box, and the defence just didn't deal with it quick enough, weren't sharp enough, because there weren't their regular centre-backs there kicking the balls away, and led to a chance to Neres, and he scored. In the end, though, it's good to see that the two Brazilians at Ajax, they were doing really well today. Neres and Antony both had, Antony in particular, of course, because he played the longest. He had a good game. He was pretty threatening off the right-hand side. But I think what Ajax fans want to see is him step it up now against like those big teams, the big opponents. And Vitesse are a good team, but you could see that the level of the opposition meant that Antony was sort of standing out more than he had been in Europe. Yeah,
I think that for me, the jury is definitely out on the two of them. I wouldn't say that, well, Neres will take the credits today, but, you know, it's a pretty unmissable chance for him. So I can't say that we can start praising David Neres after today, but yeah, the two of them need to step up in the big games. I think Antony was good today. I think that Ravenberg as well, who got a bit of criticism after his performance in midweek as well, he got the opening goal. It was a great finish. I thought he was more involved today, but yeah, Neres against Roma was awful. I was surprised that he wasn't the one that came off at half time, because I thought at least Anthony was a little bit threatening. Neres, I thought every single time the ball came to him, he wasn't doing anything with it. So I was surprised that he stayed on the pitch for as long as he did. And that's probably why he got dropped today, and he only came on late on. He gets the winner. That's good for him. Hopefully it gives him some confidence before the end of the season. But yeah, I still stand by my comments that, he's one of the players that's going to be leaving Ajax at the end of the season, because I think that his enthusiasm's not really there anymore for Ajax. I think he wants that move somewhere else, and I think he'll get it this summer, and then we might see him improving his form somewhere else next season, because I just can't see it improving that greatly between now and the end of the season.
Before we talk about the Netherlands US20 squad, just a final touch upon Vitesse. What did you make of them in today's cup final? I think that Thomas Lecter's really deserved that new contract that he's got, because he's done such a great job with the Arnhem club. But today they were just sort of sat back and camped quite a lot in the defensive third of the pitch. Shame we didn't get out anymore. Shame we didn't see Osama Tanana carry more of a threat. But what do you think for them going forward, Mike?
Yeah, I think that, we have to say they've had a great season, reaching the cup final. They're fourth in the league. They can still reach Europa League. You've got to be disappointed today they didn't win the cup and put more of a fight in. I thought, as I said earlier on, I thought they were good for the first, until they equalised, the first 25 minutes. I thought they were attacking at least, and then they seemed to just sit back. And you saw in the second half when Openda went off and Lech turned to Toure instead of another striker. That was them sort of saying that we're going to sit back here and try and break. But without Openda there, the pace wasn't there to really hurt Ajax. So I thought that change was a bit strange when you had a couple of strikers on the bench that they could have replaced Openda if they went for a more defensive midfielder. So I think that, I think they went a bit too defensive in that second half, and eventually, Ajax got a winner, as they usually do if teams want to sit back and try and defend against them, and then everyone's, it's just only really going to be one winner in the end. And I think I have to say it was deserved for Ajax, but from now on they've got to try and concentrate on the fourth place, try and seal that. It's really between them and Feyenoord until the end of the season. So they got to pick themselves up. There's still plenty to fight for them. Getting fourth would be huge for them. And for attracting players in the summer as well, I think it's going to be massive for them to get that European spot. So we just need to see if they can hold on to it, or if Feyenoord are going to pinch it from them.
And a bit of housekeeping for the Eredivisie, the European places. You've got the Champions League going to first and second. The Europa League sort of automatic spot is now third place rather than the cup final winner, because Ajax have won that now. And then it will be fourth place gets Europa Conference League, and then the winner of the playoffs between fifth and eighth will also get the Europa League Conference League. Or Europa Conference League, that's the name of the competition. Bit of a mouthful, isn't it now? But I think that we'll see, it will be AZ and PSV going for that second and third place, getting a good European place. Then you're going to get fourth, and whoever wins the playoffs going into those Europa Conference League places. That's a mouthful. And we're live as well on YouTube, so I can't edit that out. I just sound like a Muppet now. Let's move on to the Netherlands squad then. The big announcement will be coming before the end of May. Frank de Boer's going to make a decision. He's got to take a fairly small squad to the Euros. Much anticipation is ahead with how the Netherlands can get on. The group it's not bad. It's definitely achievable. Ukraine probably the biggest opposition there. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, wow, what we're going to be doing for the Euros, we've got plenty coming up on the website, including we'll be having next week a preview of the competition itself, and sort of we're going to be predicting who's going to win each group, which team's going to progress, and we'll have an ultimate winner. We've got lots of guests lined up to come on a podcast all at once to give their opinions on the different teams competing in the Euros, and we'll have some discussion about the Netherlands in that, but discussion about the other teams in the competition too and who could win it. As for the squad itself, the reason why we're so pessimistic is Frank de Boer's making some pretty poor choices, and he has been throughout. He said that he picked players on merit, and there's still some players in his squad that shouldn't be in there on merit, you would think. So what's your overall feeling about the squad coming up, Mike? Do you think Frank de Boer is still going to stick with his guns? And the name that's in everyone's head, the elephant in the room, is Ryan Babel, because that just shows you that he's not changing his ways.
Yeah, I hold no hope for him changing his mind between now and the Euros. I think he's pretty headstrong on. I think he said it during the international period. There's only one or two spots that are up for contention. I think that Babel's on that plane. I think he even scored last week for Galatasaray, and if that keeps happening, then he's definitely going to be. I think he's nailed on. We can all say it's baffling, and then we don't understand it. And when he comes on, he offers nothing. But it's not going to change Frank de Boer's mind at this stage. He's got to take him. He said it constantly that he's great for squad unity, and if that's what he wants, then Babel's on that plane ahead of maybe 2, 3, 4 players that deserve it more. You just hope this doesn't come back to bite the Netherlands, because they're struggling in a game against Austria, Ukraine, even the bigger teams, and he's looking at a subs bench and he's got Ryan Babel and Steven Bergwijn there, whereas Noah Lang, Val Weghorst, Cody Gakpo, or even somebody like Arnaut Danjuma is exploded in the English Championship, scoring goals for fun. If those players are left behind, and I just can't see Netherlands getting far. Bringing on Babel and Bergwijn and even Luke De Jong as attacking options to try and find a goal, because these players aren't on form, especially Luke De Jong. He's not scored in his last 6 games for Sevilla. He's only started once, but because he scored in pretty much every game for the Netherlands during the international period, even though they were pretty simple goals, that's going to put him on the plane. Whereas Val Weghorst, Danjuma, Noah Lang all scored again this weekend in wins for their clubs, and all look very good and on form. So I can't see De Boer changing his mind, and I'm setting myself up for an exasperated look when I actually eventually see that squad announcement.
There's a lot of focus on the striking options, though, and the attacking players that Frank de Boer will pick, because the defence pretty much chooses itself, doesn't it? And there's a lot of players who should then start out of those selection. The goalkeeper's pretty set, and you wouldn't mind too much which of them plays. The midfield, stacked with some quality, a couple of players who could play better at the moment, but again, kind of chooses itself. It's that front three that who plays with Memphis Depay up top. There's 2 places really up for grabs. And the selection that we've been having for the past year or so is not seeing too much change. And there's genuine concerns that there's not the firepower to beat teams. There's a good comment that's coming from Tommy, and he says, I wish Georgios Giacomakis was Dutch. Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be a decent option at the top at the moment. But we had a comment on Twitter from Abdul saying that who else besides Babel should be dropped from the Euro 2020 squad. I think Koopmeiners should be selected, and he should be a starter as well for the Netherlands. For a long time, we spoke about Koopmeiners as being a quality player, and we actually spoke in our last, I don't know if it was the last podcast, but we spoke recently, I know the 2 of us did, Mike, that he might be someone who maybe hasn't quite reached that top level yet, and will need to go abroad and do that in Serie A, for example, if it's with Roma, to go and prove that he can do it at that level. Is he actually ready to start games for Netherlands at the moment? Maybe not. Maybe he still lacks a little bit of concentration at key moments. No, but the key one is Val Weghorst, like how he's not being selected with the amount of goals he's been scoring in the Bundesliga. He should be almost that first name on the team sheet in terms of a striking options for Netherlands now. However, Frank de Boer's not going to pick him. And I was wondering whether it was because now we're at that stage where you might not just choose someone to come into your squad. I know he's been selected before for Netherlands, but he's coming new into the squad. He's a different kind of striker. Have you got to play differently for him? And he's quite a big character as well. I don't know if you saw that he appeared on German TV. I know this because it was popped onto Dutch TV. They sort of translated it. They said that he was very critical about coronavirus and was very skeptical about the whole thing. Does that kind of personality, therefore, not grate on Frank de Boer and therefore make his decision more difficult? It's something completely random to bring up, but might be a reason why de Boer doesn't want to pick him. He's a bit of a big personality, if you like, to just sit on the bench.
Yeah, so you could say that Weghorst has actually given de Boer an excuse to not pick him now, because he can just come out and say, oh, you got to go with personality, you got to go with squad unity. And I think that De Jong fits in well with his squad, because you might not criticise him for the comments that he made, but he might just point towards squad unity, which is why Babel keeps getting selected. yeah, I think Veghorst, you can score as many goals as he wants, but if you shoot yourself in the foot, I know, free speech, you can say what you want, but you can't be naive, and these things affect things, because you see, as soon as he said that, there's plenty of comments on the Dutch panel shows last week saying that that's exactly the reason why he's not getting selected, is because he comes out with these things, and you can say it's free speech, you can say what he wants, but it's going to have an impact, and it's going to give De Boer an excuse to then say, look, I'm going to pick De Jong because I don't want somebody coming into the squad to disrupt it. We've had, I think the Netherlands, out of all the nations, can say that they've had problems with squad unity at big tournaments in the past. So yeah, he's going to try and keep it mellow and keep it all calm, and not have any division. And somebody like Veghorst could come in and cause a bit of that. So I think that De Boer, you can say that for non-footballing reasons, Veghorst might not get selected, which is not fair, because I think that when you go to a tournament, you want somebody that's informed, and if you want informed players, Veghorst is the one. But if you also want to try and keep a squad unity, then De Boer might then just go with other choices. I don't think it's right. I think that you pick the squad on the best players that are available and try and win the tournament, not try and keep everyone happy for a couple of weeks. Once you get there, your mind should be focused on winning the tournament and picking the best players to get you to that final. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think that Veghorst's comments kind of have shot himself in the foot a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like it's an excuse for De Boer, but it was sort of made the decision a lot easier for him that he wasn't going to pick him. There's more players though, surely with a spot in danger. And if I could just try and share my screen again, there's another thing where, because we're live, I wonder whether that don't want to make me bigger. Whether this could work or not. Let's have a little look. Share screen. And if I go to Chrome tab and show the Netherlands squad from last time, can you see that, Mike?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of strikers there, a lot of forward players, shall I say, where their spot might be in danger. I'm looking here at Steven Bergwijn, who's not been informed for Spurs. We talked about Babel. Steven Berghuis, I think, is now deserving of that starting spot for the Netherlands on the right side, even though he's not everyone's cup of tea. But Calvin Stengs hasn't been that great for RZ. Daniel Marlin has definitely warranted his spot. So there's, De Jong, Stengs, Babel, but there's four forwards there that could easily drop out of the squad. But how many of those do you realistically see leaving the squad, Mike? And who could be the replacements? You talked about Danjuma, but is Frank de Boer seriously going to consider someone who's playing in the Championship, despite him winning Player of the Month in that league?
Well, you can say Tim Krul's in the squad, and he's a Championship player. So, and mine's a team that are battling relegation in the Bundesliga. So you can't really look at that, because Championship's a strong league. At times, I think it's a tough league, but if Danjuma's scoring every single week, then he should warrant into that conversation. I don't think he will get picked, but he's certainly a player to keep an eye on. I think he's one that's going to get a big move in the summer, regardless of whether Bournemouth go up or not. I think there'll be clubs looking at him as an interesting option to pick up. But for me, looking at that squad, I wouldn't take Bergwijn at the moment. I wouldn't take Babel. Stengs I would keep in there, because I think he's got something a bit different, and I like him as an impact player and coming on. I think he can offer something. Malin I'll definitely take. And Luke de Jong, as much as we can say that we don't want Luke de Jong there, or we would prefer Veghorst, Luke de Jong's going, it's nailed on. It's like Babel, he's just nailed in there, because Frank de Boer can just say, look, he's scored 3 goals in the last 3 games, what do you want? So it doesn't really matter what his form is for Sevilla. He can come on and play 1 minute for the rest of the games, for the rest of the season. He's going to be on that plane as long as he's fit. So if you look at Bergwijn, if he doesn't play between now and the end of the season, and Jose Mourinho's under pressure at Tottenham, they're not winning games. Bergwijn's not even getting in the squad, let alone on the bench. So you can't really justify picking him. And during the international period, you saw that, because he only appeared in 1 game for the last minute. So clearly, even De Boer doesn't think he's warranting game time. So I think that his place is the one that's definitely up for grabs. And the player that I can see getting it, although it's not going to be the one that I'd want would be Quincy Promes, because even during the international period,
wow,
Frank de Boer constantly said, Quincy Promes comes back into contention for the squad, and I think that again, he's going to pick players about squad unity, and I think that I can just see Promes squeaking in there if he starts scoring some goals for Spartak, and I think he has scored a couple since he moved there. Then I think I can see him getting that spot, and he has great friends with Memphis Depay and a couple of players in the squad, so I can see him sneaking in there if he does a couple of goals for Spartak. And I don't know when his case is. I don't know anything about that.
No, of course.
But if anything happens with that between now and summer, maybe that'll change. But at the moment, if he scores for Spartak, I think he's on that plane ahead of Bergwijn. And then you look at those options, and it's you have to say, like, for a Netherlands squad at a major tournament, in my lifetime, I'd say it's the weakest.
Yeah, what it is, isn't it? It's not full of goals, not full of quality, unlike some of the other players.
Yeah, by far the weakest front line that I've seen at a major tournament for the Netherlands. But then you could say that Euro 2012 failed when they had great players. They've not won anything since '88. So maybe this is what they need. They need a squad that's united and with no star men. Maybe they don't need a big personality like a Van Persie or something like that up front. It's just going to be a team working for each other, and if De Boer can get that, then you never know how far this team can go. But yeah, looking at it on paper, you're looking at it and saying that front line's a big worry.
Maybe that's what Frank de Boer wants. Then he wants squad unity, and it could work for him. The only player though that I thought you were lining up to say before you said Quincy Promes, Mike, was Cody Gakpo, because he's been playing quite well for PSV, and I was thinking, he's going to talk about Cody Gakpo now, and he didn't bring him up. Why is that? Is that just because you don't see De Boer choosing him? You've got to bear in mind that Stengs has been not hitting the same heights as Gakpo. Gakpo's back from injury now. He's fresh. He's not going to be tired in the summer, and he has been impressing more, in my opinion.
Yeah, if that was what came into contention for the squads, I've talked about before, if it's players on form, then somebody like Gakpo will be there. But it's not based on players that are on form as much as De Boer would want to say it is. It's based on players that De Boer likes and players that he's worked with before. And just before a major tournament, is De Boer going to pick someone that he's not seen in action himself in his own training ground and not seen with his own players this close to a tournament? Can't see it. I think he'll use, again, the under-21 Euros is coming up. I know that they're separate, so it could be a case that Netherlands get knocked out straight away by France, and then all those players are available. But yeah, he'll use that as an excuse that Gakpo was doing so well for them, so he doesn't want to take him away from the under-21s sort of thing. And I think that the only thing Gakpo can do between now and the end of the season is keep performing and keep scoring goals. Then maybe he comes into contention. But right at the moment, if you put a gun to my head and said who's going to be in that squad, I would say that Promes, even Bergwijn and Stengs are ahead of Gakpo at the moment in the pecking order. I say that Gakpo and Lang are the sort of two that are wanting to get the attention, but it probably won't get it from De Boer until they do something utterly incredible. Noah Lang, up until the squad was announced last time, he was banging in goal left, right, and centre. He still didn't get any recognition. So that just shows De Boer doesn't really look at who's in form. He looks at who he likes and who he knows fits in well with the squad. And I just can't see Gakpo getting it, even if he does deserve it.
So that was a sort of dissection of the attacking options. And if you're listening to this thinking, what about this person? What about this person? Or if you have your own choices, who would you take as like your sort of 7 forward players for the tournament? Do comment them down below and let us know who you would choose in the Netherlands squad. And I'd say that's probably the longest conversation we'll have about the entire squad, Mike, because if you look at the rest of it, hopefully if I'm scrolling up, it'll show you the goalkeepers, defenders and midfielders. Is there anyone there who you're worried about in the squad? Are you still worried, thinking, I'm not really sure they should be in there? Or is there anyone you think is sorely missing from the squad from midfield, defence and goalkeepers that you're thinking, they should really be in there? I mean, Koopman is someone who I want to see in the squad, but isn't sort of like oh yeah, he absolutely must be in there over Wijnaldum. You know what I mean? So like, there's no one that I think is missing that sorely, unless I'm being completely blind to this. But there's two right backs. I think that the right backs will be between Dumfries being first choice, and then either Karsdorp or Hartberg or Tater for the second right back spot. And that, again, that's not a really important position then if Dumfries is going to get the first choice for that. The left back could be Wijndal now. But it depends whether David Blind's back. Depends if Van Dijk's back for centre-back options. But yeah, anyway, over to you, Mike. Who do you think's missing?
So if you're going to defence, then yeah, I think you're right that, Tete is one that could come out there, and Hatteber or Karsdorp. I think Karsdorp's doing really well for Roma at the moment, but I think if Hatteber comes back for Atalanta, I think he's injured at the moment, but if he comes back, then he might sneak in there. It might be him and Dumfries. For left back, yeah, you're gonna Wijndal, because Blind's not going to be there. He's saying that he might come back in time for the Euros, but if he doesn't play again for Ajax, would you really pick him? I think De Boer would definitely, if he can kick a ball and he might be available for the latter stages, then I think De Boer would take him. Same with Van Dijk, it's a risk. So I can see Wijndal taking that slot. The players that are missing are the obvious ones. I can't see St. Just to be in there, so I can see De Vrij and Ake in there. It's tough because UEFA hasn't confirmed it yet, whether they're going to expand the squads to 26, 27 men, then more people sneak in. But
yeah,
if it's 23-man squad, then it's very difficult for some of these players to get in. So I can even see Veltman falling away if De Vrij and Ake are available again, and then you've got Toolkit. Is Big Virgil going to be in there? Is he going to be back in time? If he is, then yeah, he will be in there. So yeah, it's going to be, defence is one that I'm least worried about, because I think he's got options left, right, and centre.
There's quality players there, aren't there? They just need to perform, basically.
Yeah, so De Vrij's one that was missing from the last squad. I think we could have used him against Turkey. I think him being missing was a big loss. Ake as well. I think that he's a quality third centre back to have. If it's selecting De Vrij as a centre back pair, and I'm very happy with that, with Ake off the bench. But obviously I want Virgil there. But yeah, De Vrij's a quality stand-in for him, so I'm happy with that. Inter are doing great at the top of Serie A. They're going to win that. So De Vrij is going into that tournament with a lot of confidence. So yeah, defence is not really where I'm worried about.
Same, yeah. Like if you have possibly Van Dijk, but De Ligt, De Vrij, Ake, Veltman, perhaps he's had a good season at Brighton. Then you start to think about players who are going to be utility players. Who Veltman could play centre back, right back, and also this season left back. So you probably will get in because of that. Then you're seeing like someone like Van Aanholt drop out because he won't be the first choice left back, and he's not versatile enough to play centre back. So therefore, you would say that his position's at risk too. If injuries persist though, and there is a 23-man squad, then someone like him might be picked. Probably we'll see a few changes there though, but only upgrades, if anything, or obvious upgrades. Goalkeepers shouldn't be a massive concern. And to be honest with you, the way that Kellenberg's been playing for Ajax, I wouldn't be too concerned if he starts games for the Netherlands. But I think that the normal choice will be back there, Jasper Cillessen. And then midfield, I mean, there's only 6 options in the last squad. Probably about the same again this time. You got 2 players for each position in that midfield. Frenkie de Jong is the key man, isn't he? He's going to be the one that Netherlands have to rely upon to start off chances. And then you've got Martin de Roon for the bigger games. The defensive midfielder is going to break up the play. I think he's really important in there. Then you're looking at Wijnaldum's going to be in there just because of his reputation. He's been okay, but could do better. David Klaassen has actually been playing pretty well for Ajax. He has to be there now. So there's 2 players left. I'm thinking Van der Beek might drop out because he hasn't been playing for Man United. But again, he seems to still get in there every time now. And Ryan Gravenberch, he's been playing quite well for Ajax. But he's a bit of a risky player and he's quite young. And yet Frank de Boer's taken that risk, which is interesting because he's taken it on him, but not on other players. So is there anyone else you would add in that midfield, Mike, and anyone you see dropping out?
Yeah, I think that, they're pretty set with the midfield choices. I think that, that's the group. And then if anyone's going to drop out, it's going to be Gravenberch. I can't see... David Klaassen is a player that could be up and down. I think the midweek game against Roma, he barely touched the ball. But he scores. So that's the thing. He doesn't really get involved, but he's always there to pick up little chances and score goals in crucial games. He got that great goal against Turkey when he came off the bench. I think he's just a good option to have in there. But yeah, if you're looking at someone to replace Gravenberch, it would be Koopmeiners, or then you look down the options. There's not very many about. You got Vilhena was in the last squad announcement. He's not going to get in there. Strootman, God no. Then you're looking at players like Jordi Schuiten or Leroy Fair. These players that just you wouldn't say is an upgrade on any of these ones. The only ones that would be an upgrade would be somebody like Koopmeiners, who's you would need to play at his best to be an upgrade on any of these players. So yeah, I think now that midfield 6 is pretty set, because there's not very many. There's not anyone that's jumping out to me right now that I'm going, oh, he really needs to be in there if he was performing between now and the end of the season, because there isn't very many about at the moment. Joey Veerman, you always get people saying, oh, Joey Veerman is great, but he's not going to come into the Netherlands squad now. He's not that well yet. So, he could be an option in a couple of years once he gets a move, but, not now. So, yeah, I think that 6 is pretty set.
But a good quality 6, and probably the strongest area of the squad at the moment because of the lack of fit defenders. Now, if I just start sharing my screen a second, and I come back into stream. There we go. So at the moment, are you pretty satisfied with the squad as a whole, Mike? Despite the couple of changes that Frank de Boer should make to his squad, but hasn't been, are you satisfied with the options when the players are fit and back in the squad?
Yeah, I think that if the players that come back fit for the defence, especially, that'll solidify. You want to see that. I don't think that the loss against Turkey might have happened if it was De Vrij in there and Ake was there and Virgil was there. I think that defeat wouldn't have happened as bad as it did. So I think they shore up that defence, and midfield's pretty set. I can see Frankie start alongside Wijnaldum with Klaassen in the 10, and then swapping in De Roon. That's just what I can see happening. And Gravenberch and Van de Beek options off the bench. The only area that you can't say you're 100% satisfied with is the attack, because apart from Memphis, there isn't really anyone that's on form. Malin's on form, but some of the options like De Jong, Babel, and Bergwijn. Berghuis is a foreign player for Feyenoord, and he did well for the Netherlands, so I think he will be there as well. But you just need these players to step it up between now and the Euros, because if the Netherlands come up against France or Belgium, do I think that Steven Berghuis is going to hurt them? No, I don't. I don't think he's that quality player that they need to really trouble these players. I think they need players with pace. That's why I think that somebody like Noah Lang or even a Danjuma, somebody that's got a bit about him that will pick up the ball and run at someone is going to be so crucial. Gakpo as well. These players can take it up and run and shoot. Not somebody that's going to cut inside and then look backwards and then try and play across. It's not great. So I think these type of players, you got Memphis, you got somebody that's a bit different that can pick up a ball and just run with it. But other than that, Bergwijn, Berghuis, Babel, Luuk de Jong just scream to me that these players aren't good enough for a nation that wants to win the tournament, if I'm going to compare them against the other favourites. So yeah, that's the only area of the squad that worries me at the moment. But who knows? It could be totally wrong, and that attack might work out absolutely perfectly at the tournament. But just right now, in the games that we've just seen as well, I just can't see it. They're struggling to score goals until that second half against Gibraltar. So yeah, that's the only areas of concern for me.
I think with Berghuis, I think that against Ukraine, Austria, North Macedonia, he's not a bad option, because there aren't many better options at the moment. He is someone who puts crosses into the box, and De Boer, I'm afraid he's probably going to pick Luuk de Jong now, and you've got to play to that kind of strength. If you're going to play that striker, Berghuis is the perfect winger to have. But if you are going to go pace against some of the bigger teams, France, Belgium, like you mentioned there, I wonder whether De Boer is going to switch that out actually and say, we've been playing against all of his weaker teams, the likes of De Jong, Berghaus, but now I want to go pace. I want to go Memphis, Marlon, and one of the other options that are in the squad, and see whether that wins the match. That might be his approach. Maybe he wants to keep some cards close to his chest. We haven't seen him do this too often, but when Ronald Koeman was playing France, he had the 3 pacey players up top with Wijnaldum helping out, and it was really dangerous, really threatening, and really exciting to watch. De Boer might go back to that. But going ahead to the tournament, I'm asked about the Netherlands, and they go, "Oh, but Frank de Boer's a manager, isn't he?" And we've been critical of him enough on this podcast that he's not the right person to lead the Netherlands into a European competition. What's your opinion right now, Mike, of De Boer? Is he going to be that pivotal to their chance at the Euros? I try and tell myself that it won't matter because the squad unity is going to be there with the players he's chosen, and they all want to win the Euros. They're not going to not perform. So surely that it doesn't matter who the manager is. They want to go out and win.
Yeah, I think that the argument that a coach doesn't matter can be there at times if you've got the right players. If you put anyone in charge of Barcelona, if they've got a Lionel Messi on fire, then maybe they're going to beat teams. But for me, it depends who's on the pitch, and possibly Netherlands' most important player and leader isn't going to be there. So for me, I think that Virgil van Dijk would be a second leader on the pitch. He'd be shouting at everyone. He'd be making things happen. I don't see that from Wijnaldum when he's got the captain's armband. I didn't see it in any of the games that we just witnessed. I didn't think he was, he was invisible for most of the games, and he's the captain now. So yeah, so having that leadership on the pitch isn't going to be there without Virgil. Memphis gets involved. He's fiery. I don't know why he's not got the captain's armband. For me, I'd put him in charge because at least he'll G up the players, and he's probably the one that's going to be the most motivated to go to the Euros and try and get the tournament win. But yeah, you'd say that it doesn't really matter because Netherlands have an easy group. But look what happened to Germany against North Macedonia. They lost. Ukraine can trouble teams. I think they recently drew with, I think it was France away from home. I think they can trouble teams. And, Austria have some decent players that if, Netherlands aren't concentrating enough that they could beat them. I think it's the top 3 from each group that go through, or the top 2 and some of the best.
Top 2, and then it's going to be 4 of the 6 teams finishing third that go through. Yeah,
so Netherlands are playing all the games at home. You'd expect them to at least get through the group, but then it's going to come down to tactical management against one of the bigger nations.
Yeah,
is the Burger going to be able to do that? You could argue that when he played Italy, he changed it up to a 5-3-2, and he went tactical toe with them. So he showed a bit of it there, but he needs to do that more. And then if you're putting De Boer up against France, what's he going to do to trouble France? In my head, if I was guessing what he'd do is he would sit back with a 5-3-2 and try and hit and counter. But yeah, we'll see how the tournament. But right now, I'd say that I still stick to Netherlands will get to the quarterfinals and struggle to get past that stage, just because I don't have faith in De Boer to have that tactical nous to go up against one of the top teams like a Louis van Gaal had or a Ronald Koeman, because I think Barcelona fans are now seeing that Koeman is actually a good coach, because I know he was criticised at the start of his reign in charge of Barcelona, but that's a club that had so many problems when he took over. And now he's starting to turn it around, and they just won the cup yesterday. You see how Frankie de Jong was playing yesterday in the cup final. He got a goal and 2 assists, and he was absolutely fantastic. That's what the Frankie de Jong now want to see play for Netherlands. But we just had 3 games where we didn't see Frankie de Jong once perform. So yeah, I think it does come down to a bit of coaching and how they can raise the players up. I think Koeman was perfect for that. I think Louis van Gaal was perfect for doing that. Little tactical switches, like the goalkeeper switch, which was perfect. I just can't see anything like that from De Boer. I think he'll just be 4-3-3. If his tactics don't work, he'll just try and throw substitutes on like Ryan Babel and De Jong and try and hit the big man. So that's what I can see from him, and I don't think it's going to work.
Then rightly so, we can be critical of De Boer, and we need to see him make some interesting tactical switches in games. And let's see what happens. Now, before we finish our podcast, we're going to talk about the relegation battle in the Eredivisie. But before anyone who is a Netherlands fan goes, a few things to remind you about. We've still got the Football-Oranje wristbands you can get. They're like this, and they are to help support the Netherlands at the Euros, but also support what we do at Football-Oranje. We've been making little improvements recently, and we can't do that without your support. So please do support us if you can and get yourself a Football-Oranje wristband. Thank you very much if you've already got one and you're enjoying it already. Now, a couple more things too. Next weekend, in a week from this when this is recorded, we'll be doing a special Euros preview podcast where we'll be looking at all of the teams in the competition and predicting the winner of the competition. We've got guests coming on the podcast who have a speciality in all these different leagues and countries, and they're going to give their points of view as to which teams will get out of the different groups. Mike is also going to be doing the Netherlands one too, so he'll be letting you know whether he thinks they'll be getting through their group. Ukraine, Austria, and North Macedonia are going to be three tough opponents. They're all ranked within the top 30. Netherlands are only 16th themselves, I believe. And Ukraine, I'm told already, are actually like a massive threat to win the group. And it could be a serious match in their hands, and it could be one of those big games already in the Euros when the Ukraine play the Netherlands. And Austria, I'm told already, are on the way down and perhaps might not have too much of a chance this competition. And North Macedonia, the Netherlands have got to go and beat them, despite them beating Germany. And so that is coming up a week from now. And there's also lots more coming up with previews of the games for the group. So plenty more to come on Football-Oranje. Now, Mike, just before we go, we need to talk about the Eredivisie relegation battle. There's been so much going on with it recently that it's been hard to keep up with. And there's been so many switches and changes of teams sort of hovering above the bottom three, then dropping into it. But the biggest story, Emmen, they're nearly on the way out. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think turn of the year, we're all going to say that Emmen are doomed and they're definitely on the way down. And yeah, they've worked a miracle over the past couple of months to get themselves in contention to maybe escape. And yeah, if you're looking for a form team down there, that they're definitely the one. It's going to be a tight battle between now and the end of the season to see who does end up in that second automatic relegation spot, because I think we can all say now that
Ado are down.
Ado are doomed. You know, they're awful and they deserve it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a club that I say they deserve it, but it's a club that's going through big issues off the pitch with their owners, and it's just a club that's suffered with injuries as well. I think he brought in Dal Janmaat, and then for him to get injured straight away wasn't great. But yeah, they signed too many players that just didn't fit, and going with Pardew last year, and they deserved to go down last year, and they managed to stay up, and then this year they've just been the same. Really poor. They bring in player after player after player, and none of them work. So it's just a club that I think that needs to go down, needs to refresh themselves, and then come back up and see if they can.
Like FC20 did.
Yeah, they need a restart, and I think that relegation might be the best thing for them. But yeah, between the rest of them, it's going to be a big battle down there. You've got VVV in there who are on the side, even if Giacomakis is scoring goals. I think that other than him, their side's pretty awful, so they can get dragged into it. And Willem II as well just can't seem to pull themselves away. And then you've got RKC who could also get pulled in. So yeah, it's going to be a tight battle between now and the end of the season. It could be any one of them really. But if I had to pick one now, I'd probably say VVV are going to be the second bottom for me. And then I can see Emmen getting the third bottom one. I just can't see them escaping totally. I can see them maybe getting through the playoffs.
The way that Willem II have been playing, though, they surely will go back into the bottom three, because they seem to have turned a corner and will get themselves out of trouble. But defensively, they're so poor, and they're conceding goals left, right, and centre. They're losing games quite heavily now, and players are angry. The manager's really disappointed. He shows them the touchline. You think, oh, he's passionate. But then in post-match interviews, he just slates all of his players. And that's not a way of managing the situation. They're going to go down at the moment with the way that they're playing. And Emmen on the way out, having not won a game, I think it was, goodness me, I think it was February, and now they're in 7 games. They've won 4 and drawn 3. It's incredible. They've got some decent fixtures left to go, some good games at home that they can win. They've got to win those though. They're not out of trouble yet. You know, they've got to dig their way out still. But even getting in the playoffs, if you're a form team going into the relegation playoffs, you can survive. The players look a bit different this year. I mean, you can find it online what it might look like. But basically, the Dutch second tier, you're going to have the top 2 teams come up. Cambuur have already been promoted and look like it's going to be a good team in the Eredivisie next season. Second place could be De Graafschap. We'll see those yet, see what happens. You've got third playing 8th, fourth playing 7th, fifth playing 6th. And I think that the winner 5th and 6th plays the team from the Eredivisie who's going down. And then it's the winner of 3rd v 8th, 4th v 7th play each other. And then it's the winner of those 2 teams. And if you kept up with that, you deserve a medal. It's really complicated, but I finally figured it out. And the playoffs are streamlined this season, so there's no home and away leg. It's just one fixture for each one to make it quicker. And crucially, yeah, it's only 2 matches for the Eredivisie team to get through to stay up, which is a bit different to last time. A lot of the teams in the Eredivisie just went down going into the playoffs. As I say, I think if it's Emmen going into it, I think they'll get a way out of it because they're on the way up. Whereas Willem II, I think if they end up in there, they're going to go down because the teams are just desperate to come up from the second tier. It's not exactly have many chances to do so. But having the 2 direct promotion relegation places is a massive step forward for the Eredivisie. We talked about the Beneliga. Don't want that to happen. Neither of us. Although, it's interestingly, a bit off topic, put it on Twitter and more people were for it than against it at the moment. And a few people, of course, are undecided. But yeah, and away from that front, the Eredivisie it needs to improve its quality. And by having 2 teams come up directly, that improves the quality already because you're losing ADO Den Haag and VVV Venlo have lost 10 games in the spin and are relying upon the goals of a striker. And you're replacing with Cambuur, who are full of goals. And the second place is automatically going to be stronger, you'd think, even than VVV Venlo. So it's the right step forward. And yeah, like I say, I think EKC got some tricky fixtures, but I think I'll stay up. And I'm hoping that Emmen can get that last survival spot. Trying to remain impartial, of course. I think that Willem II is just a massive shame if they go down after the season they had last season.
Yeah, I think they've got some winnable games coming up there. I'm just looking at Willem II's fixtures. They've got RKC next Friday. I think if they win that one, it would be huge. Then, they've got Utrecht away, PSV at home, you could lose them. But then they've got 2, crucial games away against ADO Den Haag, who will probably be relegated by that point. And then home against Fortuna on the end of the season. So that's 3 winnable games for Willem II between now and the end of the season. That you're looking at 9 points, so that would be probably enough for them to stay up. So I'd still stick with Willem II staying up as long as they win that game next week against RKC.
And there's many fixtures to go that you get a massive twist, and ADO might stay up, unlikely as it is.
No.
But it's going to be between those four teams, though, whoever goes down. And yeah, the Keukenkampioen Eredivisie playoffs are going to be massive this season. I mean, it's going to be really exciting to see who comes up. Now, I think that's it for this podcast this time. It's gone really quick, this 50 minutes. At least has me recording it with Mike. And thank you for watching if you've been watching live. Thank you for watching if you've been watching after we've gone live and you're watching this a few days after. Regardless, give us a comment. What did you think of today's podcast? But more crucially, what did you think about the Netherlands squad choices that we were going through? Do you agree with what we were saying, or do you completely disagree? Do you back Frank de Boer to make the right choices, or do you think there's someone we've completely forgotten? Send us either your complete 23-man squad, let's say, in the comments, or if you want to just send us a few choices, let me know who you'd put in the forward line. Who would your strikers and wingers be that will go to the Euros in your 23-man squad? Which 7 forwards would you choose? Before we go, we got one more comment from someone watching live. Thank you very much for saying you'll get a wristband. Look forward to sending you your order really, really soon and get yourself your own Football-Oranje wristband. Before we go, don't forget we're doing plenty more to do with the Euros coming up in the next few weeks on Football-Oranje. And if you haven't watched it yet, go and watch our interview with Charlie Setford. He's an Ajax goalkeeper from their academy. He's English. He's coming through their ranks. Make sure you hear what he's got to say. He was saying that David Klaassen was the most welcoming player in the squad, Ajax, and he's been training with all these Dutch legends in the academy. They're all coaches for him, and he was speaking about that and having Martin Stekelenburg with him in training. So yeah, he was saying all sorts of good stuff. So go and check that out if you haven't already. Now then, please do like this podcast if you're listening to on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. Leave us a comment, letting us know what you thought. And yeah, we'll be doing more stuff like this very, very soon. Next weekend is the big Euro preview podcast. So for me and Mike, it's goodbye for now.
Goodbye.